He fell in love with his girlfriend's mother, and what he confessed at the wedding froze everyone in their tracks. He smiled before the altar, but he wasn't looking at the bride. There was a forbidden desire, a silent betrayal, and a truth that had been hidden for months. No one suspected a thing until it was his time to speak, and when he opened his mouth, the wedding stopped forever. If you enjoy these stories, leave me a red heart and subscribe. This story will send shivers down your spine. The glow from the crystal chandelier bathed the mansion's dining room in a soft, golden light. Miranda ran her fingers over the Egyptian cotton tablecloth, arranging the sterling silver cutlery that chimed like tiny bells. The aroma of fresh roses danced with the scent of rosemary and roasted lamb wafting from the kitchen, creating a symphony of smells that promised a perfect dinner. "Mom, this is too much," sighed Lily, trying to smooth the wrinkles on her simple blue sheath dress. "Ethan is going to think we live like this all the time." Miranda set down the last fork and wrapped her daughter in a hug, enveloping Lily in a cloud of her French perfume. "My girl, this is our life, what I built for you." Her eyes shone with the pride of someone who had started with nothing. "I want to get to know the man who makes you smile on the phone every night." The doorbell chimed through the house, making Lily jump. Her heart galloped like a wild colt. 3 months of dating, and finally, Ethan would meet her family, her world, the woman who had raised her alone. She opened the door with trembling hands. Ethan stood there with a bouquet of carnations, the cheapest flowers he could find, and a $10 bottle of wine that had cost him 3 meals. He couldn't hide the nervousness that beaded on his forehead. "My life," he whispered, kissing her quickly before stepping inside. As he crossed the threshold, Ethan's eyes transformed. The feigned humility gave way to a calculating glint as he absorbed every detail: the original paintings, the marble floors, the antique vases. His fingers discreetly brushed against a porcelain figurine, mentally appraising it like a thief sizing up his loot. "It's incredible," he murmured. But the words died in his throat when Miranda entered the living room. The room seemed to shrink in her presence. The black dress hugged her figure without being vulgar, with the elegance of someone who doesn't need to show off to shine. Even at her age, Miranda radiated a mature beauty that made any unseasoned youth pale in comparison. "Welcome, Ethan," she said, extending her hand with the grace of a queen receiving a subject. Ethan was paralyzed. When he finally reacted, he took her hand and held it between his own, which were damp with sweat. His eyes roamed over Miranda from head to toe without concealment, like a starving man before a forbidden feast. "The pleasure is all mine," he replied, his voice an octave lower than usual. "Now I understand where Lily gets her beauty from." During dinner, the wine flowed, and Lily talked enthusiastically about her work with underprivileged children, about her dreams of one day opening her own school. But Ethan barely listened. His attention was fixed on Miranda, on the way she cut her lamb with aristocratic precision, on how her red lipstick left a mark on the crystal glass, on how her melodious laugh made the air vibrate. "And tell me, Miranda," he interrupted Lily mid-sentence, "how did you manage to build an entire empire being so young? A woman of your qualities could have just settled for a good marriage." The compliment hid an insult. Miranda felt it like a slap, disguised as a caress. "With hard work and dignity, Ethan. There are no shortcuts to real success." "My mother is an inspiration," Lily chimed in with innocent pride. "She started by giving facials in our old apartment. Can you believe it? Now her clinics have a 3-month waiting list." "Astonishing," Ethan murmured, devouring Miranda with his eyes. "Truly astonishing." With each glass of wine, Ethan grew bolder. His knee would accidentally brush against Miranda's under the table. His compliments became more personal, more inappropriate. "Lily, my love," he said suddenly, taking his girlfriend's hand but staring intently at her mother. "Have you ever thought about dressing in your mother's style? With your sweet face, a little elegance would completely transform you." The silence that followed was thick as fog. Lily looked down at her modest dress, feeling herself shrink in her chair. Insecurity, that old companion, returned like a shadow. "My daughter doesn't need to be transformed," Miranda cut in, her voice cold enough to freeze hell. "She is beautiful, exactly as she is." The rest of the evening was a silent battle. Miranda defending her territory, Ethan invading every inch he could. Lily, caught in the middle, mistook the tension for simple formality. As they said goodbye at the front door, Ethan hugged Lily with false affection. "Wait for me in the car, princess. I forgot my phone in the dining room." When Lily had walked down the driveway, Ethan slithered back inside like a snake in the shadows. He found Miranda collecting the wine glasses, her profile illuminated by the dim light. "Excuse me. I think my phone is on the table," he said. Instead of taking it and leaving, Ethan moved closer, invading Miranda's personal space. The heat from his body, the smell of cheap wine and expensive cologne, crashed against her. "It must be difficult," he whispered, "to be so radiant and watch your daughter live in your shadow. Poor Lily, so plain next to you." His fingers slid up Miranda's bare arm, trapping her hand in a slow, deliberate caress. Miranda pulled away violently, as if she had touched a live wire. "Good night, Ethan," she spat, each word like venom. "My daughter is waiting for you." A warning flared in her eyes, a warning Ethan chose to ignore. As she watched him walk away, Miranda felt a chill run down her spine. That man didn't love Lily. That man was a wolf who had just chosen not one, but two prey. And the worst part was that her daughter, blinded by love, couldn't see the fangs behind the smile. The spring light filtered through the large windows of the Blackwell Aesthetics Clinic, bouncing off the white walls and polished marble floors. The discreet murmur of elegant conversations mixed with soft piano music. In the air floated the essence of jasmine and sandalwood oils, creating an atmosphere of serene luxury that justified the establishment's exclusive prices. Miranda adjusted the collar of her designer lab coat and reviewed the file of her next patient. Her office, strategically located at the end of the main hall, reflected her personality. Orderly, elegant, without excess, but with details that silently screamed quality. On her glass desk sat a photograph of Lily at her college graduation, smiling with that mix of shyness and pride that defined her. Beside the portrait lay a delicate red silk scarf, her initials embroidered in gold thread, a gift she had given herself when she opened her third clinic, a reminder that every drop of her success came from her own effort. "Mrs. Blackwell, your 12 o'clock has canceled," announced Laura over the intercom. "But there's a gentleman here who insists on seeing you. He says he's your daughter's boyfriend." Miranda's stomach clenched into a knot of disgust. It was the third time in a week that Ethan had shown up uninvited. The previous times, he had used the excuse of being in the neighborhood to pick up Lily, even though the school where her daughter worked was a 40-minute drive in the opposite direction. "Tell him I'm busy, Laura." But before the receptionist could reply, her office door opened without permission. Ethan strode in as if he owned the place, holding a bouquet of sunflowers that were too large and garish for the clinic's sophisticated ambiance. "Miranda, how lucky to find you free," he exclaimed, closing the door behind him, isolating them from the rest of the world. The normally spacious office seemed to shrink with his invasive presence. The heavy, woody scent of his cologne battled with the delicate fragrance of the room, a metaphor for what he represented in their lives. "Ethan, I don't recall giving you an appointment," she replied, remaining firmly behind the barrier of her desk. "Formalities are unnecessary between us, don't you think?" He smiled, approaching like a predator, enjoying cornering its prey. "Since we'll soon be family?" The word family in his mouth sounded like a veiled threat. Miranda clenched her fists under the desk, resisting the urge to call security. "What do you need, exactly? I have patients waiting." "I just wanted to say hello to my favorite future mother-in-law," he replied, his eyes scanning the office with the calculating gaze of a thief planning a heist. "See where the woman who built all this from scratch works. Lily speaks wonders of you, though she struggles to live in your shadow. Poor thing." He walked over to the shelf where Miranda kept her awards and recognitions. With the confidence of someone who knows no boundaries, he picked up a frame with a photo of Miranda, receiving an Entrepreneur of the Year award. "Impressive, truly impressive," he murmured, running his thumb over Miranda's face in the photograph in a caress that made her feel nauseous. "A woman with your beauty and your brains is a dangerous combination." Miranda circled her desk and snatched the frame from his hands. "If you have nothing important to say, I'd appreciate it if you'd leave. Unlike some people, I actually work." The verbal jab bounced off Ethan harmlessly. He moved so close that Miranda could feel his artificially minty breath. "You know, Lily is sweet, but she lacks your fire," he whispered hoarsely. "I wonder what it would feel like to be with a woman who knows what she wants." Disgust rose in Miranda's throat like bile. With a sharp movement, she pressed the intercom button. "Laura, please escort this gentleman to the exit, and call Mr. Henderson to confirm our meeting." Ethan stepped back, raising his hands in a gesture of false surrender. Mr. Henderson was the head of building security, and they both knew it. "All right, no need to get like that," he said with a crooked smile. "I just came to personally invite you to dinner this Friday, to celebrate Lily and me hitting our 4-month anniversary." He left an envelope on her desk. His fingers lingered unnecessarily, as if contaminating her belongings gave him pleasure. "I'll be waiting for your confirmation. Lily is so excited. You wouldn't want to disappoint her, would you?" The implicit threat hung in the air. Using Lily as a shield was a dirty move that Miranda recognized instantly. Laura appeared at the door, saving the situation. With a professional smile, she gestured for Ethan to follow her. "A pleasure seeing you, Miranda," he said as he left, giving her a brazen wink. When he was finally gone, Miranda collapsed into her chair, exhausted as if she had run a marathon. The presence of that man sucked all the positive energy from the room, leaving a toxic residue behind. It was then that she noticed it. Her red silk scarf was no longer in its usual spot, and her favorite lipstick, the one she always kept in the top drawer, had also disappeared. Panic drove her to the door. In the distance, she saw Ethan crossing the reception area toward the exit. Before he passed through the glass doors, he turned and looked directly at her, as if he had felt her gaze. A slow smile spread across his face as he slipped a hand into the inner pocket of his jacket, where a sliver of red silk was peeking out. Miranda felt the floor shift beneath her feet. It wasn't an oversight, not a coincidence. This man was playing a twisted, sick game, a game where her daughter was the most vulnerable piece on the board. The rain beat against the kitchen windows like small, angry fists. Miranda stirred her unsweetened tea, waiting for Lily to come home from school. The words had been piling up in her throat for days, heavy as stones. She had to talk to her daughter, even if it meant breaking her heart. The sound of keys in the door pulled her from her thoughts. Lily entered, shaking water from her hair with a smile that lately only appeared when she talked about Ethan. "Mom, I didn't know you'd be home so early. I canceled my afternoon classes because Ethan wants to take me to see an apartment. He says we might move in together soon. Isn't it wonderful?" Miranda's stomach tightened. It was now or never. "Lily, sit down. We need to talk." Her daughter's smile slowly faded, recognizing the tone Miranda reserved for difficult conversations. "What's wrong? Are you sick?" "No, my love. It's about Ethan." Lily visibly tensed, as if she had already had this conversation in her head. "There's something about him that isn't right," Miranda continued, choosing each word carefully. "The way he looks at me isn't normal. It's not respect, it's desire. He's come to the clinic 3 times this week, always when you're not there. The last time, he took my scarf and my lipstick. They're small details." "But—" "Small details," Lily interrupted, her voice trembling. "You're telling me my boyfriend desires you based on small details? I know how it sounds, but trust me, I know that look. I've turned down enough men in my life to know when one is obsessed." Lily shot up from her chair, her face flushing. "I can't believe you're doing this. Why? Because I finally found someone who loves me? Because for the first time, I'm not just Miranda's daughter?" "Lily, this has nothing to do with." The doorbell cut her off. Seconds later, Ethan appeared in the kitchen doorway, soaked from the rain but strangely composed, as if he had rehearsed his entrance. "Excuse the interruption, ladies," he said, his voice dripping with false humility. "Lily forgot her phone in my car last night, and I came to bring it to her. I didn't realize you were talking." Something in the way he said that last word made Miranda know with absolute certainty that he had been listening at the door. "Thanks, honey," Lily replied, walking over to kiss him. You got here just in time. My mother was just telling me a very interesting story about you. Ethan's eyes met Miranda's in a silent duel. About me? Wow, I feel important. He smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. May I ask what story that is? She says you look at her with desire, that you harass her at her clinic, that you stole her personal things. Lily's voice broke with each word. Ethan's face transformed. Suddenly, his shoulders slumped, and his eyes filled with tears that seemed to spring forth on command. His entire body shrank like a wounded animal seeking pity. So, she finally told you, he whispered, his voice cracking. I knew this day would come. I hoped she would reconsider. What are you talking about? Lily asked, confused. Miranda stepped forward. Don't you dare. Your mother has been harassing me since we met, Lily. Ethan blurted out, tears streaming down his cheeks. At first, I thought it was just in my head comments with double meanings, accidental touches. But then she started calling my cell, showing up in places where I was. That's absurd, Miranda exclaimed. You're the one who comes to my clinic uninvited. Because you would summon me there, he retorted, pulling out his phone. I have the messages, Lily. Messages where your mother asks me to meet her alone. He showed the screen to Lily, who turned pale as she saw what appeared to be conversations between her mother and her boyfriend. This is a fabrication, Miranda said, snatching the phone. On the screen were screenshots of conversations, not actual messages. Anyone can fake this. Why would I do something like that? Ethan sobbed, playing the victim role perfectly. I just wanted to be accepted by the mother of the woman I love. But when I made it clear to her that I only have eyes for you, Lily, she threatened me. She said she would convince you that I was a predator, that no one would believe a nobody like me over the great Miranda Blackwell. Mom, tell me this isn't true, Lily pleaded, her eyes desperately searching for a denial. Of course it's not true. This man is a pathological liar. How can you believe him? Ethan approached Lily and took her hands in his. I didn't want to tell you this, my love, but the last time I came to pick you up, your mother invited me to her bedroom. When I rejected her, she warned me she would turn you against me. She said that no man would choose the copy when he could have the original. The blow was devastating. Lily remembered all the times she had felt invisible next to her mother, all the glances that shifted from her to Miranda at parties, all the compliments that always ended with, just like your mother. I can't believe you would stoop so low, Lily murmured, looking at her mother with eyes full of pain and betrayal. You believe this opportunist over your own mother? Miranda's voice trembled with indignation. Lily, think, when have I ever lied to you? When have I ever put my desires before yours? For a moment, doubt crossed Lily's face, but then Ethan knelt before her, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. I didn't plan on doing this like this, but I can't wait any longer. Lily Blackwell, will you do me the honor of marrying me? I promise you a life away from the shadows, where you will be the only light in my existence. The ring was modest, just a small diamond that sparkled timidly, but to Lily, it represented something she had never had, being someone's first choice. Yes, she replied in a whisper. Yes, I will. Miranda watched in horror as her daughter fell into the oldest trap in the world. As Ethan placed the ring on her finger, he looked up at Miranda. For a second, the mask dropped, and Miranda saw the truth in his eyes. Pure, predatory satisfaction. Lily, please, she tried one last time. That man doesn't love you, he only wants. Enough, Lily screamed. Not all men are like Dad, obsessed with you until they abandon their family. Ethan loves me. He's using you to get to me, to my money. Ethan hugged Lily protectively. You see, she can't even conceive that someone would prefer you over her. Her ego won't allow it. He looked at Lily, his eyes watery. I love you with all my soul. But I can't go on like this. I can't be in a family where the mother competes with the daughter for the same man. We have to choose. Either we leave here together, or I leave alone. Lily looked at the ring on her finger, then at her mother. 26 years of unconditional love versus 5 months of romance. But in her confused mind, those 26 years had transformed into a long shadow from which she needed to escape. "I'll start packing," she replied, shattering Miranda's heart into 1,000 pieces. The grandfather clock marked each second with a tick that resonated like a hammer blow to Miranda's heart. Sitting on the living room sofa, she listened to Lily's footsteps on the floor above, the opening and closing of drawers, the dragging of suitcases. Each sound was a small funeral. Ethan had gone back to his apartment, leaving Lily the freedom to say her goodbyes, a final act of false consideration, designed only to make Lily feel in control of a decision she was being manipulated into. Miranda mentally reviewed every mistake she might have made. Should she have been less protective? More? Should she have confronted Ethan in private, hired an investigator sooner? The questions tormented her like furious wasps. The sound of suitcases being dragged down the stairs pulled her from her torment. Lily appeared in the doorway of the living room with 2 large suitcases and a backpack. Her face was set with determination, but her eyes were swollen from crying. "I'll come for the rest next week," she announced, her voice forcedly firm. Miranda rose slowly, like an old woman, though her back remained straight with pride. "You don't have to do this, Lily. This is your home." "Not anymore." The coldness in her daughter's voice was like a dagger. "A house where they don't trust my decisions isn't a home, and a man you've known for 5 months deserves more trust than the woman who gave you life." Lily left her suitcases and approached her mother. For a moment, Miranda thought she would relent, that she would hug her like she did as a child after a nightmare, but her daughter's face had hardened into a mask of resentment. "You've always been like this, haven't you? Always needing to be the center of everything, the beautiful, successful, perfect Miranda Blackwell." "Lily, I never." "When I was a little girl," she continued, ignoring the interruption, "my friends' mothers would ask me what it was like to be the daughter of someone so impressive. Do you know what I told them? That it was an honor, a damn honor, to walk in the shadow of the great Miranda." Silent tears streamed down Miranda's cheeks, but she didn't wipe them away. She deserved to feel every drop of this pain. "Everything I did to give you a better future than mine. And you never thought that maybe I wanted to build my own future? That maybe I didn't need to live in a mansion or wear designer clothes? The only thing I needed was a mother who saw me, not an extension of herself." The verbal blow was more painful than any physical slap. "I saw you, Lily, every day of your life. You are the best thing I have ever done." Lily shook her head as if rejecting an unwanted gift. She picked up her suitcases and walked toward the door. Miranda followed, unable to give up just yet. "Please, stay. At least until we know more about him. We can investigate him together, check his past." "What for? So you can invent more lies? So you can keep treating me like a stupid little girl who doesn't know what she wants? I just want to protect you." "No, Mom. You want to control me." "Like always." Miranda stood tall, recovering some of her wounded dignity. "If that's what you think of me after everything we've been through together, then maybe you do need to leave. Maybe you need to find out for yourself who that man really is." Lily grabbed the doorknob but paused. She turned one last time, and in her eyes was a toxic mix of pain and defiance. "You know what the worst part is, Mom? Deep down, I think you're jealous. Jealous that someone finally prefers me. That I finally have something you can't have." The words landed like acid on Miranda's exposed skin. "You're wrong, my child. I'm not jealous. I'm terrified. Because I recognize in that man the same look your father had before he stole everything from us and ran off with his secretary. The same hunger. The same deceit. Don't you dare compare Ethan to him. Ethan loves me for who I am." "And who are you, Lily?" "Because the daughter I raised would never have chosen a stranger over her family." A dead silence fell between them. Lily pressed her lips together, holding back words she knew she couldn't take back, but her rage won out. "Maybe that's the difference between us, Mom. You chose your pride over love. I'm choosing love, even if it hurts me. And if that makes me weak in your eyes, then I'd rather be weak than be like you. Rich, beautiful, and completely alone." The door opened. The cold afternoon wind swept into the house, carrying away the last trace of family warmth. "Go, then," Miranda finally said, her voice serene despite the earthquake inside her. "But when that man's mask falls, and it will fall, remember who loved you first." Lily crossed the threshold without looking back. The door closed with a slam that echoed like a gunshot in the suddenly empty house. Miranda didn't move, didn't scream, didn't plead. She stood there as her entire world rolled away in 2 suitcases. Only when the taxi disappeared at the end of the street did she allow herself to fall to her knees and release a sob that carried the weight of all her fears. Miles away, in a gray neighborhood on the outskirts of the city, another door opened. The taxi dropped Lily in front of a worn-out building with cracks in the facade and a smell of dampness that hung in the air. Ethan was waiting for her at the entrance, with the smile that was now her only home. "Welcome to our palace, princess," he joked, helping her with the suitcases. They climbed 4 flights of stairs stained with cat urine. When they finally reached apartment 4B, Ethan struggled with a rusty key in a stubborn lock. "It gets stuck sometimes," he explained, pushing the door with his shoulder. "You have to treat it with love." The door finally gave way with a tortured squeak. Inside, a minuscule apartment awaited them. Peeling paint, old furniture, the smell of stale cigarettes embedded in the curtains, none of it mattered to Lily. This place was now her proof of love, her declaration of independence. "It's perfect," she lied, setting her luggage on the stained floor. Ethan closed the door behind them, and for an instant, his smile changed. It was so fast that Lily, busy unpacking her belongings, didn't notice. But if she had looked, she would have seen in his eyes the same calculating glint her mother had recognized from the very beginning. The apartment door, like the trap it was, closed with difficulty, trapping Lily in her new life. A life she would soon discover came at a much higher price than a few suitcases. The alarm clock rang for the 3rd time that morning. Lily stretched out a sleepy arm to silence it, feeling her back protest another night on the cheap foam mattress. In her mother's mansion, she would wake up wrapped in Egyptian cotton sheets that smelled of lavender and expensive fabric softener. Here, the synthetic sheets scraped her skin and smelled of dampness, no matter how many times she washed them. "Is it morning already?" Ethan mumbled, burying his head under the flat pillow. He made no effort to get up. "It's 6:30. I have to be at school by 8. Lily sat up, dodging the sloped ceiling that had hit her so many times she had a permanent bruise on her forehead. The apartment was so small, the bed took up almost the entire bedroom. To get to the bathroom, she had to shuffle sideways between the wall and the rickety closet, where her few belongings barely fit. The shower water came out ice cold, as it did every morning. Lily gritted her teeth as she soaped up quickly. 2 months in this place, and she still wasn't used to the morning chill, the neighbors shouting that pierced the paper-thin walls, the smell of fried food that rose from the diner on the corner and seeped into everything, even her underwear. With her hair still damp and minimal makeup, she made instant coffee and toast for them both. There was no time for more. The nearly empty refrigerator was another reminder of their reality. Her teacher's salary barely covered the rent and basic utilities. "There's no milk," Ethan complained, when he finally deigned to appear in the kitchen around 7:30. He was wearing only boxers, his hair a mess. His body, once so attractive to Lily, now seemed like that of a lazy child playing at being a man. "We ran out yesterday. I left you money to buy more." "Oh, I forgot," he replied, yawning without apology. "I was too busy sending out resumes." Lily bit back a sharp reply. "What resumes?" The laptop only showed the browser history of sports betting sites and video games whenever she secretly checked it. "I'll be late tonight." "I have a parent-teacher conference," she commented, packing her bag with the tests she had graded until dawn. "I left stew in the fridge. You just have to heat it up." He replied, more interested in his phone than her words. "Hey, can you leave me some cash? I have to take a cab to an important interview." It was always the same. Money for cabs, for interview-appropriate clothes, for networking lunches, and a job never materialized, a paycheck, any real help. Lily opened her nearly empty wallet and handed him her last few bills. "That's all I have until I get paid." "Don't worry," Princess, he smiled with that charm that used to melt her and now was starting to ring hollow. When I land this position, I'll buy you a new mattress. I know your back is killing you. A small gesture of consideration that made her feel guilty for her doubts. Maybe he really was trying. Maybe things would get better soon. The heat was already suffocating when she left the building. The bus passed by packed, forcing her to wait for the next one under the relentless sun. As she waited, her mind drifted to her mother's cool mansion, with its shaded garden and turquoise pool. The memory hurt more than the heat stroke. The hours at school passed in a haze of children's voices, math problems, and the constant anxiety of pending bills. By the time the last parent left the conference, Lily was exhausted. Her stomach rumbled, reminding her she had eaten nothing but an apple at noon. The bus back was so crowded she had to stand, crushed between sweaty bodies, clutching her bag to her chest to avoid pickpockets. Was this the independence she had so desperately craved? When she got to the building, she had to climb the 4 flights of stairs on foot because the elevator was broken. Again, her legs were trembling when she finally reached the apartment door. Inside, the smell of stale air and old food hit her immediately. The stew was untouched in the fridge. Ethan? No answer. The laptop was gone, which meant he was out. Maybe he really did have an interview. That comforting thought lasted until she entered the bedroom and saw clothes strewn on the floor. His nicest shirt, the one he wore for his supposed interviews, was gone. But so were his tight jeans and that expensive cologne he saved for special occasions. With a heavy heart, Lily collapsed onto the mattress, which sagged under her weight, groaning miserably. The peeling ceiling stared back at her without pity. Through the walls, she could hear her neighbor's soap opera, the couple upstairs fighting, a baby crying. She forced herself not to cry. She wouldn't allow herself to doubt. She had chosen this. She had left her mother for this man. Admitting she was wrong was too painful to even contemplate. Her phone buzzed with a message from Ethan. Don't wait up. The interview ran long and now there's a team dinner. Good news soon. Kisses. Lily stared at the screen until it went dark. In the black reflection, she could see her own dark circles, her face aged by exhaustion and disillusionment. For a second, she allowed herself to imagine what it would be like to call her mother, to apologize, to go home. But then she remembered the cruel words she had said, the way she had slammed that door. Her pride was the only thing she had left intact. And so, on that mattress that tortured her every night, Lily decided to keep believing the lie for one more day. The sun was beginning to set when Miranda left her clinic. The parking garage, usually full at this hour, was nearly empty due to a medical conference that had drawn most of the staff away. Her heels echoed on the concrete, a solitary sound among the few remaining cars. 2 months without Lily. 2 months of sleepless nights wondering if she was okay, if she had enough to eat, if that man was treating her right. She had tried to contact her, but her messages went unanswered. Her calls went straight to voicemail. It was as if her daughter had vanished from the face of the earth. When she reached her silver Mercedes, Miranda let out a tired sigh. Life went on, business thrived, but success tasted like ash without her daughter to share it with. She was fumbling for her keys in her purse when she sensed a presence behind her. Before she could turn, a familiar scent of cheap cologne invaded her space. The reflection in the car window showed her the smile that starred in her worst nightmares. What a coincidence to find you alone, Miranda. Ethan's voice sent a chill through her, which she disguised by straightening her back. With deliberately slow movements, she turned to face him, keeping her chin high despite the fear coiling in her stomach. There's no such thing as coincidence when you've been loitering around my clinic all week, Ethan. He widened his smile, taking a step toward her. Miranda instinctively backed up until her back hit the car door. They were in a public place, but isolated enough that no one would hear a conversation or a scream. You've been watching me? I'm flattered by your interest, he replied, moving so close Miranda could smell the alcohol on his breath. Though, I'm not surprised. Women like you always want what they can't have. The only thing I want is for you to leave my daughter alone. Ethan laughed, a sound that made Miranda's skin crawl. Your daughter. Ah, right, little Lily. Do you know what she's doing right now? working like a dog to pay for our love nest while I enjoy a free afternoon. He took another step, placing his arm against the car, blocking any escape on that side. He wasn't touching her, but his presence was an invisible cage. It's pathetic, watching her try so hard to keep me happy, he continued, savoring each word like bitter candy. And every day she comes home more tired, more defeated. But she still smiles when I tell her I'll get a job soon. The poor thing is so desperate to prove she made the right choice by picking me. Miranda felt rage replace fear. Her hands clenched into fists, but she maintained her composure. This was exactly what he wanted, to provoke her, to make her lose control. What do you really want, Ethan? Because we both know you don't love my daughter. He leaned closer, his mouth almost brushing her ear. I want it all, Miranda. I want your empire, your money, and after I've ruined your daughter, I want you in my bed, begging. Because in the end, all queens fall when their kingdom is taken from them. His words, whispered like an obscene promise, made Miranda feel sick, but she showed no hint of fear. With a calm, icy motion, she slipped her hand into her purse. Impressive villain speech, she replied in a controlled voice. But you forgot one important detail. What's that? This queen has claws. With a fluid movement, Miranda pulled out a small can of pepper spray and aimed it directly at his face. Ethan flinched back, his confident smile vanishing for the first time. Get away from my car, my clinic, and my life, she warned, her finger firm on the trigger. Or next time, this won't be a warning. Ethan raised his hands in a gesture of feigned surrender, but his expression had twisted into a mask of pure hatred. You think you can threaten me? You have no idea what I'm capable of. As we speak, your daughter is signing documents that will give me access to her accounts. She's so trusting, so stupidly loyal. Miranda clenched her jaw, fighting the urge to spray him just for the pleasure of watching him squirm. If you touch a single cent of my daughter's, I will destroy you, she promised, each syllable sharp as a knife. And how will you do that? Report me to the police? For what? A conversation in a parking garage? He laughed again, backing away slowly. You have no proof of anything, Miranda. And by the time you do, it will be too late. By then, your precious Lily will be so in debt and so broken that not even you will be able to save her. With a quick motion, Miranda pressed the panic button on her car keys. The blaring alarm made Ethan jump, attracting the attention of a security guard who appeared at the garage entrance. Everything all right, Mrs. Blackwell? The man shouted. Perfectly, Ramon, she replied, not taking her eyes off Ethan. The gentleman was just leaving. Ethan backed away further, but his smile returned, now laden with malice. Enjoy your temporary victory, Miranda, he muttered. Very soon, when you least expect it, I'll be sitting in your office, in your living room, in your bed, and neither your alarms nor your guards will be able to stop it. He turned and walked calmly toward the exit, waving at the guard as if nothing had happened, as if he were just an acquaintance saying goodbye after a friendly chat. Miranda waited until he was gone before letting her trembling legs betray her. She slid into her car and locked the doors, breathing deeply to calm the panic that threatened to choke her. With shaky hands, she picked up her phone and dialed a number she rarely used. Tess, it's me, she said when her sister answered. I need your help. It's about Lily and that monster she's living with. She paused, watching the entrance where Ethan had disappeared, feeling the weight of his threats like a dark shadow. We need to have him followed, 24/7, she continued with renewed determination. This man is more dangerous than I imagined, and I think he's planning something big. As she started the car, Miranda felt something she hadn't experienced in years, real fear, not for herself, but for her daughter, because she now understood that Ethan wasn't just an opportunist. He was a calculating predator willing to destroy everything in his path, and Lily was alone in his claws. The bar, the gilded cage, glowed with its Art Deco decor and exclusive clientele. Tess, with her jangling bracelets and colorful dress, stood out among the elegant ladies sipping cocktails with French names. She had been sitting in a strategic corner for 2 hours, following her sister Miranda's instructions. We need proof of what Ethan does when he says he's job hunting. She ordered another coffee and checked the time. 3 afternoons of tailing her niece's boyfriend had confirmed her suspicions. There were no job interviews. Ethan spent his days hopping between bars and cafes, flirting with women who were twice his age and had 3 times his bank account. A movement at the entrance caught her attention. Ethan appeared, impeccably groomed in the only decent shirt he owned, perfectly ironed. But what made Tess nearly spill her coffee was the woman accompanying him, Eleanor Sterling, a septuagenarian widow and owner of half the financial district. Tess discreetly slid to a closer table, activating the recorder on her phone. "A woman with your life experience must have so many fascinating stories," Ethan purred, stroking the old woman's wrinkled hand. "I would love to hear all of them." "How gallant," Eleanor giggled like a schoolgirl, her jewels tinkling with every movement. "It's been decades since I've felt so understood." "Most people don't appreciate mature beauty," he continued, leaning in to whisper something in the widow's ear that made her blush furiously. Tess snapped a photo at the exact moment Ethan kissed Eleanor's bejeweled hand as she opened her genuine crocodile handbag. The doorbell woke Lily, who had fallen asleep amidst a pile of tests to grade. She opened the door, her hair a mess and her eyes shadowed with dark circles, to find her Aunt Tess with a grave expression. "We need to talk," she announced, entering the small apartment without ceremony. "It's about Ethan." Lily tensed immediately. "If you're here to criticize him—" "I'm here to show you something," Tess interrupted, pulling out her phone. The photos appeared in sequence. Ethan smiling seductively at an elegant old woman, Ethan kissing her hand, Ethan whispering in her ear as she opened her purse. "This was this afternoon at the Gilded Cage," Tess explained. "That's Eleanor Sterling, 70 years old, widowed 3 times, and known for adopting handsome young men who end up emptying her accounts." Lily felt a sudden chill. The pieces were fitting together: the phantom interviews, the disappearing money, the secret calls. "It must be a misunderstanding," she murmured, but her voice lacked conviction. "The only misunderstanding is that you're still believing him," Tess replied firmly. "First he tried with your mother, then with you, and now he's hunting for more mature prey." Lily stood frozen, her eyes fixed on the images that were shattering her last illusions. "I'll talk to him," she said finally. "Talk to him? You should throw him out with his 4 rags. I need to hear his explanation." Tess sighed, recognizing the Blackwell stubbornness in her niece's eyes. "As you wish. But when the truth hits you, remember you have a family that loves you." Past midnight, the door opened silently. Ethan came in smelling of expensive perfume and aged whiskey, startled to find the lamp on and Lily waiting with the photographs spread on the table. "What are you doing up?" he asked, forcing a smile. "Waiting for you," Lily replied, pointing to the pictures. "What's Grandma's name, Ethan?" The man's face shifted quickly from confusion to perfectly calculated indignation. "Are you spying on me?" he shot back, throwing his jacket over a chair. "Your mother hired detectives. My Aunt Tess was at that bar." "Of course! How convenient!" His laugh sounded bitter. "Your family can't stand to see me succeed, can they?" "You call seducing old women succeeding?" Lily asked, standing up. "I was selling insurance," Ethan exclaimed, slamming the table. "Eleanor Sterling is a potential client for the insurance company where I applied. They asked me to demonstrate my sales skills with real clients." The explanation sounded so plausible that Lily hesitated. Ethan noticed her doubt and softened his tone, taking her hands in his. "Do you think I enjoy flattering an old woman? I do it for us, to give us the life you deserve." His eyes filled with perfectly calculated tears. "I got rejected from 3 interviews this week, and when I finally find something promising, my own fiancé accuses me of being a con man." Guilt flooded Lily like a toxic tide. What if she was wrong? What if she had unfairly judged the man who sacrificed everything for her? "I'm sorry," she murmured, kneeling in front of him. "It's just that the pictures, it looked like you were cheating on me with a septuagenarian." Ethan let out a sad laugh that made Lily feel ridiculous. "You really think so little of yourself?" That's not it. The worst part is, I got the job, he continued, a master of manipulation, premium insurance salesman. I wanted to surprise you tomorrow. Forgive me, Lily pleaded, real tears streaming down her exhausted cheeks. I should have trusted you. I'm only working this hard so you can leave that miserable school soon, he whispered, kissing her forehead with feigned tenderness. As Lily went to bed, relieved by his explanation, Ethan lingered in the kitchen, discreetly pulling Eleanor Sterling's business card from his pocket. Once he was sure Lily couldn't see him, his face twisted into a mask of pure contempt as he looked towards the bedroom, watching the sleeping woman as one might look at a tool that would soon be discarded. The red envelope on the table screamed, "Final notice." Lily counted coins from the jar where she saved every extra dollar, knowing it wouldn't even cover half of the overdue rent. 3 months had passed since the promise of the insurance job. 3 months of increasingly elaborate excuses, while their debts grew like poisonous weeds. The door opened, and Ethan burst in with unusual energy, carrying food that smelled deliciously of fried chicken. "I brought dinner," he announced with a smile. "We can't afford this," Lily replied, pointing at the notice. "We're being evicted in a week." Ethan ignored the envelope, pulling out steaming containers. "That can wait. We need to talk about something important." Lily remained standing, crossing her arms over her hollow chest. She had lost so much weight that her collarbones protruded like coat hangers under her worn-out blouse. "More important than not having a place to live?" "Much more," he replied, his expression turning serious. "Sit down, please." Something in his tone made Lily obey. Ethan took her hands across the table. "You remember my friend Rick, right? The one who helps me with investments." Lily nodded vaguely. Rick was a nebulous presence who never materialized in person. "He told me about an import opportunity with a guaranteed 30% monthly return. I invested our savings." "What savings? You said you lost everything." Ethan waved away the inconsistency. "An emergency fund I didn't mention. Last night," Rick called, "the deal collapsed. I owe the investors $50,000. The figure landed like an anvil. It was an astronomical sum for someone who counted coins to buy rice." "How could you invest money we didn't have?" Lily asked, stunned. "I was trying to save us," Ethan shouted, slamming the table. "To get us out of this misery while you're content with scraps." The silence that followed was thick with toxic fog. "What are we going to do?" she finally asked. Ethan visibly calmed himself, as if he had been waiting for that specific question. "Your grandmother's house." "What?" "The house your mother inherited in the hills. If she signs over the deed to us as collateral, we could get a loan." Lily's stomach clenched. That small colonial house had been her grandmother's only legacy, the woman who had raised Miranda by working as a laundress. "That house is sacred to my mother." "She would do it for you," Ethan insisted. "If you explain our situation." "Our situation? The one you created with your lies?" Ethan's face hardened dangerously. "The men who lent me that money aren't friendly bankers. They don't accept excuses." "I will not involve my mother," Lily declared with unexpected firmness. "We'll find another solution." "Solution?" Ethan let out a sharp laugh. "You want me to wash dishes, or would you rather prostitute yourself? Those are our options. I'll ask for a loan at the school. I'll give extra classes." "Wake up!" he yelled, kicking his chair. "Your mother has millions, and you're here counting cents because of your stupid pride." "It's not pride, it's dignity." "Dignity doesn't pay debts," he roared, pacing like a caged animal. "These men will come for what's theirs, and they won't care about running you over to get it." Lily remained firm, though fear seeped into her bones. "I'll call the police if they threaten us." Ethan's laughter echoed sinisterly in the small space. "The police? Against people who have the cops in their pocket?" He walked over to where Lily kept her few treasures and picked up a carved wooden picture frame, the only valuable object she had brought from the mansion. It held a photograph of her at age 5 in her mother's arms. "Your mother was right, wasn't she?" he asked, his voice dangerously soft. "She's the one who controlled you your whole life, the one who tried to destroy our happiness." "Ethan, put it down. That was my grandmother's. You'd rather see us on the street than swallow your pride? He continued, ignoring her. For a second, he seemed to calm down, slowly lowering the frame. But then, with a calculated move, he let it drop to the floor. The glass shattered with a crack that sounded like a gunshot in the small kitchen. The shards surrounded the photograph, now exposed and vulnerable. "Oops," he said with false regret. "How clumsy of me." Lily stood motionless, staring at the glittering fragments. In that instant, something broke inside her too. It wasn't just a picture frame, it was the last illusion that this man loved her. Ethan grabbed his jacket. "I'm going out. When I get back, I hope you've reconsidered." For our sake, the door slammed shut with a bang that shook the walls. Only then did Lily take a deep breath. With trembling hands, she picked up the photograph from among the broken glass. For the first time in months, she saw with absolute clarity. This man was capable of destroying what she loved just to demonstrate control. What would he destroy next? Who? Silently, like a cornered animal planning its escape, Lily went to her closet, took out her work backpack, and hid her ID, the counted cash, and the rescued photograph inside. Then she hid the bag under the bed. With the same caution, she arranged pillows under the covers to simulate a sleeping body. She knew Ethan would come back drunk. With luck, he wouldn't notice her absence until morning. As she swept up the broken glass, a plan began to form in her mind. It was not one of reconciliation or forgiveness, it was one of survival. And perhaps, if she could find the courage, it would also be one of justice. "We need to make peace with your mother," Ethan said as Lily reviewed unpaid bills at the kitchen table. "This Cold War is destroying us." 3 days had passed since the picture frame incident. Ethan had returned with cheap flowers and rehearsed apologies. Lily pretended to forgive him, hiding the fear she now felt in his presence. "She won't want to see me after how I treated her," Lily murmured, remembering the cruel words of her departure. "All mothers forgive," Ethan insisted, stroking her hair with false tenderness. "Besides, she could help us with our financial situation. Our situation, the disaster." The eviction notice was dated for the following week, and the supposed creditors had started calling at all hours. "I'll call her," Lily conceded, seeing an opportunity for escape in this visit. To her surprise, Miranda accepted immediately. "I'll be expecting you both tomorrow at 7, she said, her voice a tone Lily couldn't quite interpret. Coldness? Relief? The mansion glowed under the twilight as the taxi dropped them at the entrance. Lily felt a lump in her throat seeing her old home. The roses were still blooming in the garden. The central fountain murmured softly. The marble entryway gleamed immaculately. Nothing had changed. Except her. "Remember the plan," Ethan whispered, squeezing her hand tightly. "We reconcile, have dinner, and when the time is right, you mention the financial situation." Tess opened the door before they even rang the bell. "Niece!" she exclaimed, hugging Lily with exaggerated effusiveness. Her bracelets jangled as she whispered in her ear, "Your mother has everything under control. Just play along." The cryptic message left Lily confused, but she had no time to analyze it. Miranda appeared in the foyer, elegant as always in a midnight blue dress that contrasted painfully with her daughter's gaunt appearance. "Welcome home," she said in a serene voice, briefly hugging Lily. Her eyes barely grazed Ethan, whom she greeted with a curt nod. "Please, come into the dining room. Dinner is served." The home Lily had abandoned welcomed her with familiar scents. The chicken stew that Helen, their lifelong cook, prepared, the perfume of fresh gardenias, the polished wood of the antique furniture. Every detail reminded her of what she had lost for a mirage of love. Dinner proceeded in a strange dance of forced courtesy. Miranda asked about the school. Tess told inconsequential anecdotes. Ethan smiled with calculated charm. Under the surface, electric currents of tension flowed. "More wine?" Miranda offered, filling Ethan's glass for the 3rd time. "Thank you. You're especially generous tonight," he replied, his tone bordering on inappropriate. Miranda's eyes flashed dangerously, but her smile remained intact. "The occasion calls for it. My daughter has come home, even if just for a night." From her seat, Lily noticed something strange. On the mantelpiece in the living room, where Miranda usually kept her collection of small jade sculptures, there was a half-open golden jewelry box. A sparkle of diamonds peeked out tantalizingly. Why would her mother leave something so valuable in plain sight? "Excuse me, I need to use the restroom," Ethan announced, getting up as Tess served dessert. "Second door on the right," Miranda indicated with studied indifference. "Lily, tell us more about your students." As Lily spoke, she noticed her mother discreetly glancing at the clock. Tess, seemingly distracted by her dessert, had her phone out under the table. Ethan took almost 10 minutes to return. His face showed a new, almost triumphant serenity. "Beautiful house," he commented as he sat down. "So many family memories." "Yes, every corner tells a story," Miranda replied, fixing her eyes on him. "Especially my study. I have documents that date back for generations." A muscle tensed in Ethan's jaw. Fascinating. The rest of dinner flowed with superficial conversation. When it was time to leave, Miranda walked the couple to the door. "Lily, you forgot your scarf," Tess said, pulling her niece back inside. "Come, help me find it." The moment the women disappeared, Miranda turned to Ethan. Her mask of courtesy vanished, replaced by an icy coldness. "I hope you found what you were looking for." "I don't know what you're talking about," he replied, but his hand instinctively went to the inner pocket of his jacket. "Of course you don't," Miranda smiled. "Just remember, in this house, nothing is as it seems." Before Ethan could respond, Lily and Tess returned. The farewell was brief. As the taxi pulled away, Ethan put a possessive arm around Lily. "That went better than I expected," he murmured, his hand patting the pocket where he kept his prize. A master key he had found on Miranda's desk, next to bank documents he had meticulously photographed with his phone. Back at the mansion, Miranda watched the taxi disappear into the distance. "Did it work?" Tess asked, joining her sister at the window. Miranda showed her phone. On the screen, an app displayed Ethan's exact location, thanks to the tiny GPS tracker planted in the key that had been so carelessly left in plain view. "Perfectly," she replied. The mouse took the cheese. The rain fell like tears from the sky as Lily left school. The principal had canceled the afternoon meeting due to a family emergency, leaving her with 3 unexpected hours of freedom. Her colleagues celebrated their early release, but Lily felt a strange unease in her stomach. On the bus ride, she mentally replayed the visit to her mother. Something didn't add up. The mansion was too prepared. Her mother was too serene, her aunt too attentive, like actors performing a rehearsed play. The downpour intensified as she got off the bus, soaking her in the few feet to her building. She climbed the stairs without turning on the hallway light, not wanting to alert the nosy neighbors. She didn't expect to find Ethan at home. Supposedly, he had another important interview. As she reached her door, she heard male laughter from inside, a voice she didn't recognize, followed by Ethan's unmistakable laugh. Silently, she inserted her key and turned the lock with infinite care. The door swung open without a sound, thanks to the oil she had applied that morning in anticipation of her nighttime escape. From the small entryway, she could see part of the living room. Ethan was sitting with his back to her, in front of his open laptop. On the screen, a man with a short beard was smiling. "I'm telling you, Rick, it's easier than I thought," Ethan was saying, a glass of wine in his hand. Not the cheap wine he shared with Lily, but an expensive bottle she had never seen before. The old lady practically handed it to me on a silver platter. "You sure it was the right key?" the man on the screen asked. "I don't want another fiasco like in Monterey. See for yourself," Ethan replied, pulling a golden key with the logo of Miranda's company engraved on the handle from his pocket. "The master key to the castle. Opens every door, including her private study and the safe." Lily held her breath. With cat-like movements, she pulled out her phone and started recording the conversation, staying in the shadows of the entryway. "And the documents?" Rick insisted. "All photographed," Ethan bragged, swiping through images on his phone. "Bank statements, property deeds, access codes. The woman is worth millions, Rick. Millions. And the best part is, she's single." And what are you going to do with the daughter? You know, your fiancé? The mockery in his voice was evident. Ethan's laugh was a dagger straight to Lily's heart. The fool Lily served her purpose. She gave me access to the mother, who was the real target all along. Once I marry her, I'll have legal control over her assets. Wait! Rick frowned. You're going to marry the old lady? No, you idiot. The daughter. But get this, it's a master plan. Ethan leaned toward the screen, lowering his voice conspiratorially. We get married this Saturday, a small civil ceremony. Her mother will sign as a witness, obviously. Then on Sunday, I use this key to get into her study and modify a few key documents I've already prepared. She won't suspect her dear son-in-law. Impossible. Besides, I have an insurance policy, her precious little girl. The old lady would do anything to see Lily happy, even tolerate me as part of the family. Ethan raised his glass in a toast. Olha isso, Rick. A chave do castelo. Eu caso com a tonta da filha sábado e domingo eu entro no escritório da mãe. A velha vai ter que me aceitar se quiser ver a filha feliz. The Portuguese, a language Lily didn't fully command but understood from mandatory college classes, confirmed the worst. Ethan wasn't even American, as he had claimed. Another lie in his mountain of deceit. And after that? Rick asked, excited as a child with a new toy. After that, I pressure the mother to include me in her will, arguing I want security for Lily. Once I manage that, I'll arrange an unfortunate accident. Nothing suspicious. A simple electrical malfunction while she's taking a bath. The daughter inherits everything, and as her loving husband, I'll manage the fortune. And Lily? Ethan shrugged. Postpartum depression can be fatal, especially when your husband is supplying you with certain medications. The coldness of his words froze the blood in Lily's veins. The phone trembled in her hands, but she kept recording. Every word, every cruel smile, every macabre plan was being captured. You're a twisted genius, Rick laughed, also raising a glass. Here's to the future millionaire. And widower, Ethan added with a smile that didn't reach his serpentine eyes. Lily had seen enough. With the same feline caution, she backed out the door and left without a sound. Only when she was 3 floors down, leaning against the damp wall of the building, did she allow her body to react. It wasn't tears that came, but a wave of nausea that forced her to double over. It had all been a lie. Every I love you, every promise, every shared dream. The man she was planning to marry had meticulously designed the destruction of her entire family. As the rain continued to lash the streets, Lily slowly straightened her back. The naive young woman who had entered that building 15 minutes ago was dead. In her place emerged a woman with a single purpose: justice. With trembling but determined fingers, she found a contact in her phone she hadn't used in months. She pressed call, hoping it wasn't too late to repair the damage. "Mom," she whispered when the voice on the other end answered. "You were right. About everything. I need your help." The response was immediate, without reproach or triumph. "Tell me where you are. I'm coming to get you right now." As she waited, Lily looked up at the window of her apartment 4 floors above. Ethan would still be in there, celebrating his victory, ignorant that his prey had just become the hunter. Her eyes, once soft and dreamy, now burned with a cold fire. The same fire she had seen so many times in her mother's gaze when she faced down adversaries in business. The Blackwell legacy was finally awakening within her. The rain was falling like furious tears when Miranda's car pulled up to the building where Lily waited, huddled under the small awning. There were no questions, just a silent embrace when the young woman got into the vehicle, soaked and trembling. During the drive to the mansion, Lily clutched her phone to her chest like someone protecting an open wound. Words were unnecessary. The roar of the luxury engine devoured the miles, while mother and daughter breathed the same air for the first time in months, reunited by pain. The mansion received them with its warm embrace of golden lights. Helen, the housekeeper, stifled a cry at the sight of Lily, hair plastered to her face by the rain, eyes red-rimmed, drenched clothes clinging to a body that had lost far too much weight. "Prepare a hot bath and bring some tea," Miranda ordered. "Oh, and tell Tess to come over immediately." In Miranda's private study, Lily collapsed into an armchair, shivering not just from the cold, but from the rage and fear intertwined in her veins. "Before anything else, you need to see this," she murmured, unlocking her phone with trembling fingers. The video began to play on the screen. Ethan's careless, cruel voice filled the room with his macabre plan. Every word was a dagger, every laugh a slap. When it got to the part where he mentioned the accident in the shower and the postpartum depression, Miranda tensed like a bow about to be fired. Her eyes, normally warm when they looked at her daughter, turned into two pieces of black ice. Her hands, always perfectly controlled, clenched into fists so tight her knuckles turned white. "That miserable bastard," she whispered in a voice Lily had never heard before. It wasn't fear that vibrated in those words. It was an ancient fury, that of a lioness protecting her cub. "I'm so sorry, Mom," Lily sobbed. "You were right. You were always right. I was so stupid, so ungrateful." Miranda knelt in front of her daughter, taking her icy hands in her own. "No, my love. You were the victim of an expert predator. He manipulated you using your kindness, your trust. That doesn't make you stupid. It makes you human." "I want to destroy him, Mom," Lily declared, her voice transforming into something new, something sharp. "Not just leave him, destroy him, publicly." A slow, almost dangerous smile formed on Miranda's lips. "That's my girl." The door burst open, and Tess entered like a whirlwind of color and energy. "Lilybug, my girl, I knew you'd wake up." She hugged her niece tightly before noticing the charged atmosphere in the room. "What did I miss?" Miranda handed her the phone. "Listen to what that bastard was planning." Tess grew pale as the video progressed. When it finished, she placed the phone on the desk with exaggerated delicacy, as if it could be contaminated by touch. "I'll kill him myself. I'll kill him with my bare hands," she declared, with a fury that made her multiple bracelets vibrate. "No," Miranda intervened. "Killing him would be too quick, too merciful." She stood and walked to her desk, where she unfolded a calendar. "The wedding is this Saturday, correct?" Where was he planning to have it? "At City Hall downtown, at 11, Lily replied, confused. "But obviously we're going to cancel it, right?" Miranda smiled with the expression of someone who already sees the checkmate. "We're not canceling anything." "What?" exclaimed Tess and Lily in unison. "The show must go on, exactly as he planned it," Miranda explained, but with a little twist in the script. Her eyes gleamed with the intensity of someone who has found the perfect solution to a complex problem. "Darling, do you remember what I always told you about business? Never destroy an enemy in private, when you can do it in public. The lessons must be educational." Lily began to understand. "You want me to go through with the wedding to expose him?" "Exactly. He thinks he holds all the cards, that he's fooled us perfectly. His arrogance will be his downfall." Tess clapped enthusiastically. "A plan worthy of a soap opera. I love it." For the next hour, the three women plotted every detail. Lily would return to the apartment, feigning a reconciliation with her mother. She would continue to act as the perfect fiancée, feeding Ethan's ego, making him believe his plan was proceeding without a hitch. "We'll need Judge Peterson," Miranda noted, picking up her phone, "and Carlos with his security team." "And what about the police?" Tess asked. "The police will come in when we have irrefutable proof of document fraud and conspiracy," Miranda replied, dialing a number. "And for that, we need Ramirez." When the family lawyer answered, Miranda smiled with feline satisfaction. "Ramirez, I need you to prepare that special contract we discussed for cases of persistent pests. Yes, the one that includes a confession of fraud and a total waiver of assets. And I need it to look like a simple, standard prenuptial agreement." After hanging up, she looked at her daughter with renewed pride. "It's time the Blackwell women taught this imposter what happens when you mess with our family." Lily nodded, feeling a strange calm replace her fear. For the first time in months, she was exactly where she needed to be, beside the woman who had never stopped loving her, planning the downfall of the man who tried to destroy them both. The sun had barely risen when Lily returned to the apartment. She had memorized every detail of the plan, every word she had to say, every gesture she had to feign. She entered silently, finding Ethan asleep on the sofa, surrounded by beer cans. He hadn't even noticed she was gone. She made coffee and waited patiently for the aroma to wake him. When he opened his eyes, confused and hungover, she smiled sweetly. "Good morning, my love. I made your favorite breakfast." Ethan sat up slowly, studying her with suspicion. "Where were you last night?" "I went to see my mother," she replied with rehearsed naturalness. "After our argument, I realized you're right. We can't go on like this, drowning in debt when she could help us." Ethan's face lit up like a child's before an unexpected gift. "Did you talk to her? About the house?" "Even better." Lily smiled, pouring coffee into his mug. "She's offering us a condo in a luxury building as a wedding gift. She said she doesn't want to see her only daughter living in." Her words were, "this sty." Ethan could barely contain his excitement. The plan was working better than he had hoped. "I always knew your mother would come around," he said, hugging Lily. "A smart woman recognizes when she's wrong. She even gave me this for you," she added, pulling an envelope from her purse. "A supplementary credit card for wedding expenses. She wants us to get married in style." Ethan took the gold card with the logo of the exclusive bank where Miranda kept her main accounts. His eyes shone with barely concealed greed. "Your mother is quite a lady," he murmured, caressing the plastic as if it were a sacred relic. The following days were a masterpiece of acting. Lily transformed into the perfect fiancée, attentive, loving, submissive. She cooked his favorite meals, listened to his stories with apparent fascination, and responded to his caresses with an enthusiasm that made her stomach churn. Every false smile, every feigned kiss, was a small sacrifice on the altar of revenge. At night, when Ethan slept, she sent coded messages to her mother. "The fish is still taking the bait. Everything is moving according to plan." 3 days before the wedding, Ethan arrived with a bottle of champagne and a stack of documents. "I got it," he exclaimed, kissing Lily with false passion. "The judge will sign the papers this Saturday. We'll be legally husband and wife." "That's wonderful, my love," she replied, forcing a smile while her stomach twisted. "I just need you to sign these preliminary documents," he continued, spreading several pages on the table. "Formalities from City Hall, you know. Your previous address, declaration of assets, certificate of no impediment." Lily glanced at the papers with apparent disinterest, but her heart was pounding. Among the legitimate documents, Ethan had cleverly slipped in others that granted him power of attorney over her present and future assets. "Of course, darling. I'll sign whatever you need." She sat at the table, pen in hand, but while Ethan was pouring the champagne, she quickly slid the fraudulent documents under the table, replacing them with identical-looking papers she had hidden in her purse. The difference was, these had been meticulously prepared by Miranda's lawyer. "Are you sure you don't want to read them first?" Ethan asked, watching her with sudden suspicion when he returned with the glasses. This was the critical moment. Lily looked at him with eyes shining with feigned excitement. She rose slowly, approaching him with calculatedly sensual movements. "Do you really want me to waste time reading boring documents?" she whispered, wrapping her arms around his neck, "when we could be celebrating?" She kissed him deeply, suppressing the nausea that threatened to betray her. Her hands slid under his shirt while her thoughts repeated like a mantra, "For Mom, for me, for all the women he conned." The distraction worked. Ethan, blinded by desire and his imminent victory, completely forgot about the papers. When they finally broke apart, Lily returned to the table and signed with a theatrical flourish. "There," she smiled, handing him the documents. "Officially yours." What Ethan didn't know was that he was holding a full confession of fraud, racketeering, and conspiracy, along with a total waiver of any property or financial benefit derived from the marriage. A document that would become legally active the exact moment he put his final signature before the judge. "Let's toast," Ethan proposed, raising his glass. "To our future." "To our future," Lily replied, gently tapping her glass against his. Ethan drank deeply, savoring not only the champagne but his apparent victory. 2 more days, my love. Just 2 more days, and our lives will change forever. You have no idea how right you are, Lily thought, smiling with venomous sweetness. That night, when Ethan left for his bachelor party in reality, another date with the widow, Eleanor Sterling Lilly opened the bathroom window and took a deep breath of fresh air. The paper he had unknowingly endorsed now rested in Lawyer Ramirez's safe. The credit card Ethan was using so joyfully was logging every purchase, every restaurant, every gift that was not for her. In the distance, the city lights twinkled like promises. 2 days. Just 2 more days of feigning love for the man who had planned to kill her. 2 days to complete the transformation from victim to avenger. Her phone buzzed with a message from her mother. "Everything okay, dear?" Lily replied with a simple sentence. "The wolf thinks Little Red is still blind." Miles away, in her elegant study, Miranda smiled at the response. She poured herself a glass of cognac and silently toasted the photograph of her daughter that presided over her desk. Meanwhile, in an exclusive downtown bar, Ethan raised his glass in a solitary toast. "Goodbye, poverty." "Hello, Miranda." The crystal gleamed under the bar lights, ignorant that it was reflecting the face of a man walking straight toward his own destruction. The dawn of the wedding day painted the sky in shades of pink as Lily entered the mansion through the back door. Miranda was waiting for her in the master dressing room, which had been converted into a makeshift bridal sanctuary. Full-length mirrors, strategically placed lights, and, on a mannequin in the center, the dress. "Oh my God," Lily whispered when she saw it. "It's identical." The dress shimmered in its simple elegance. Ivory silk that fell like water to the floor, off the shoulder sleeves, a discreet but suggestive neckline, and a fine line of tiny pearls bordering the waist. It wasn't a traditional wedding dress, it was something far more powerful. "The same seamstress," Miranda confirmed, stroking the fabric with reverence. "The same design I wore to the charity gala last year, the photo that so fascinated Ethan." Lily remembered that photograph perfectly. It was framed in the mansion's main hallway. Miranda, radiant in that dress, receiving an award for her philanthropic work. Ethan had spent minutes contemplating it during his first visit, murmuring how elegantly sensual she looked. "Do you think it will work?" Lily asked, as Tess entered with a tray of coffee and pastries. "It will work because men like him are predictable," Miranda replied. "His obsession isn't with me as a person, it's with what I represent. Power, success, control. The dress is just a psychological trigger to destabilize him before the final blow." For the next 2 hours, the transformation proceeded meticulously. The makeup artist, following precise instructions, applied the same shades Miranda habitually used. The hairstylist gathered Lily's hair into an elegant chignon, identical to the one her mother wore at formal events. Even the perfume was the same notes of jasmine and amber that Miranda had worn exclusively for years. "It's like seeing a ghost," Tess commented, impressed by the similarity. "You look like a young version of your mother." "That's exactly the point." Miranda smiled with feline satisfaction. "We want that for 1 second, one crucial second Ethan sees who he truly desires and exposes himself in front of everyone." Lily's phone rang. It was Ethan, asking why she hadn't slept at the apartment. Following the rehearsed script, she answered in a honeyed voice, "It's tradition, my love. The bride can't see the groom before the wedding, but I promise you, the wait will be worth it." When she finally put on the dress, the effect was stunning. The mirror didn't reflect the sweet schoolteacher who had been manipulated for months. It reflected a powerful woman, a true Blackwell, with the elegance inherited from her mother and a newfound determination. "Perfect," Miranda declared, adjusting a pearl necklace around her daughter's neck. "Remember what we practiced. Don't look him directly in the eyes until the precise moment. Maintain physical distance. When you approach the altar, lift your chin exactly like I do. And if he tries to kiss you before it's time," Tess added, "turn your face slightly, as if out of shyness. Don't allow any contact until he's standing before the judge." Miranda's phone vibrated. A text from an unsaved number appeared on the screen. "I'll be thinking of you when I say I do." It was always you, not her. The dress you chose confirms it. "We'll be together soon, whether you like it or not." Miranda's face hardened. Without a word, she showed the message to Lily, who felt a wave of nausea mixed with renewed resolve. "He thinks you chose this dress to provoke him," Lily murmured. "He thinks it's a sign from you." "Narcissists interpret everything as confirmation of their fantasies," Miranda replied, locking the phone. "Are you ready to proceed?" Lily took a deep breath. More than ever. The plan was in motion. Carlos, Miranda's head of security, confirmed that everything was set at City Hall. Judge Peterson had been briefed on the situation. The local press, summoned under the pretext of covering the wedding of the year between the Blackwell heiress and her handsome fiancé, was strategically positioned. The white limousine was waiting at the entrance as the three women descended the main staircase. Tess went ahead to arrive first and take her position. Miranda paused before getting into the car and took her daughter's hands. "Whatever happens today, I am proud of you," she said in a firm voice. "Not for the revenge, but for your courage to face the truth and change your course. Thanks for not saying I told you so." Lily smiled faintly. "Mothers don't need to say it. We just need to know it." City Hall had been transformed into a fairy tale setting, courtesy of the gold card Ethan had used without restraint. White flowers covered every available surface. Silk ribbons hung from the ceiling. A small string quartet played softly in a corner. The few friends Ethan had invited, actually recent acquaintances, meant to impress the family, waited alongside Miranda's business partners and prominent city figures. Ethan waited in a small side room, adjusting his rented tuxedo. He felt invincible. In less than an hour, he would be legally bound to the Blackwell fortune. The mother, his true prey, was practically in his grasp. Sweat beaded on his forehead, not from nerves, but from anticipation. The coordinator knocked gently. "Sir, the bride is arriving. Would you like to see her before the ceremony?" Mrs. Blackwell suggested a private moment for preliminary photos. "Of course," Ethan replied, straightening his tie. "Take me to her." He was led to a small, flower-decorated room. The door opened, and Ethan felt the floor shift beneath his feet. There stood Lily, her back to him, in that dress. The same elegant posture, the same updo. For an instant, his brain experienced a total disconnect. "Miranda," he whispered involuntarily. Lily turned slowly, with the exact fluid movement she had practiced for hours. The light hit her face in the same way it did in her mother's photographs, the ones that had so obsessed Ethan. "Were you expecting someone else?" she asked, her voice deliberately similar to Miranda's. Ethan took a step back, confused and alarmed. His body reacted with contradiction. A chill ran down his spine while cold sweat broke out on his neck. He was looking at the daughter, but his mind was projecting the mother. "Lily, that dress." She smiled, turning gently. "Mom chose it specially. She said you'd find it familiar." Ethan loosened the collar of his shirt, which was suddenly too tight. "It's perfect," he managed to say, his mind racing to process the implications. Was it a coincidence? A test? Or was Miranda finally responding to his advances in a veiled way, dressing her daughter as a version of herself? "It's time," the coordinator announced, breaking the moment. Everyone in position. The wedding march began to play. Ethan mechanically offered his arm to his future wife, still disoriented by the vision before him. He didn't notice the look that passed discreetly between Lily and her mother, who was waiting at the main entrance. Nor did he notice that as they walked down the aisle toward the makeshift altar, Lily's expression subtly changed. The calculated sweetness evaporated, replaced by something cold and determined. Her eyes, once submissive, now gleamed with an implacable purpose. It was the look of a predator that had lured its prey exactly where she wanted it. The main hall of City Hall gleamed under strategically placed lights. What was normally a bureaucratic and functional space had been transformed into a scene of almost offensive opulence. Columns of white flowers rose to the ceiling. Silver silk ribbons intertwined with tiny lights created an ethereal canopy over the guests. Musicians from the National Symphony quietly performed Vivaldi. It was a display of wealth exactly as Miranda had anticipated Ethan would want it. Extravagant, ostentatious, and perfect for the cameras casually capturing every detail for the society pages of the major newspapers. Miranda Blackwell occupied a prime spot in the front row, radiant in a midnight blue tailored suit that enhanced her figure. Beside her, Tess excitedly chatted with guests, while discreetly keeping an eye on the exits, where security personnel disguised as waiters held strategic positions. Ethan walked toward the makeshift altar, where Judge Peterson waited with a solemn expression. Every step brought him closer to his goal. He could feel the admiring glances, the murmurs of approval. "That's the lucky guy who won over the Blackwell heiress," he heard a distinguished older man comment. The feeling of triumph was almost intoxicating. He positioned himself before the judge, puffed up with pride. His eyes scanned the room, pausing on Miranda. He gave her a look loaded with meaning, which she answered with an enigmatic smile. In his mind, that smile confirmed his victory. The mother had finally accepted that she had lost the battle. The wedding march changed its rhythm. All the guests rose to their feet, and then Lily appeared, seeming to float in that dress that provoked a delicious and disturbing confusion in Ethan. Was he marrying the daughter or a younger version of his true desire? "We are gathered here today," the judge began as Lily took her place beside Ethan to celebrate the legal union of Lily Blackwell and Ethan Vance. Ethan's eyes shone with barely concealed greed as the judge recited the ritual words. Each phrase brought him closer to the Blackwell fortune, to the cosmetics empire, to the mansion he had so coveted. His sweaty hands took Lily's. She maintained a serene smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Before we proceed with the vows," the judge continued, "I must ask if anyone knows of any legal impediment to this union." An expectant silence filled the hall. Ethan held his breath, but no one spoke. His smile widened. "Then we shall proceed with the marital vows," the judge announced, turning to Ethan. "Mr. Vance, do you take Lily Blackwell to be your lawfully wedded wife? Do you promise to love her, honor her, and be faithful to her in richness and in poverty, in sickness and in health, for all the days of your life?" This was the climax, the question that would seal his triumph. Ethan opened his mouth to answer, but before he could utter a word, Lily gently raised her hand. "Forgive me, Your Honor," she said, her clear voice echoing through the hall. "But before my fiancé says I do, I'd like to share something with all our guests." A murmur of surprise rippled through the room. This was not in the program. Ethan frowned, confused but not yet suspicious. "Of course, Miss Blackwell," the judge conceded, who, unlike Ethan, knew exactly what was about to happen. With graceful movements, Lily took a microphone that a waiter casually offered her. Her smile transformed, acquiring a dangerous edge that Ethan had never seen before. "Dear guests," she began, her firm voice filling every corner of the room, "you have all come here today to witness my union with Ethan, a man who won me over with his charm and dedication." Ethan relaxed slightly. It seemed like a standard thank you speech. "But before I say I do," Lily continued, "I need to show you the true reason for all this love." Confusion crossed Ethan's face. What was happening? Was this some kind of romantic surprise? A video of their love story to move the guests? Lily gave a discreet signal with her hand. On the wall behind the altar, a panel slid open silently, revealing a giant screen that had been hidden until then. "My fiancé prepared a special message," Lily announced with venomous sweetness, "that I believe everyone should hear." Ethan's face turned pale as he understood what was happening. His eyes desperately searched for an exit, but the waiters had already discreetly blocked all the doors. "Especially you, Mom," Lily added, turning to Miranda, who nodded with an impassive expression. The screen lit up. The frozen image showed Ethan smiling into his computer's camera, the date and time clearly visible in the corner. Ethan tried to move toward Lily, but two guests suddenly appeared at his side, holding him firmly by the arms while maintaining professional smiles for the cameras. "Allow me to introduce you," Lily said to the increasingly bewildered audience, "to the true face of love." With a click of the remote she held in her hand, the screen came to life, and with it, the destruction of Ethan Vance began to play out before the horrified eyes of everyone present. Ethan's image was frozen on the giant screen as a thick silence fell over the hall. Then his voice boomed from the speakers with ruthless clarity. "And get this, Rick, the master key to the castle. I marry the fool daughter on Saturday, and on Sunday, I get into the mother's study. The old lady will have to accept me if she wants to see her daughter happy." English subtitles instantly appeared below, translating every poisoned word. Some guests gasped. Others covered their mouths with their hands. "And after that?" asked Rick's voice. "After that, I pressure the mother to include me in her will." Ethan's voice continued, his face on screen twisted into a cruel smile. "Once I manage that, I'll arrange an unfortunate accident. The daughter inherits everything, and as her loving husband, I'll manage the fortune." An elderly woman fainted in the third row. The flashes from the cameras began to go off like machine gun fire. "And Lily? Postpartum depression can be fatal, especially when your husband is supplying you with certain medications." A roar of outrage swept through the room. Ethan, ashen-faced, struggled against the grip of the disguised guards. "It's a fake!" he yelled desperately. "She manipulated that video. They're all in on it." Lily took a step forward, her face a mask of glacial dignity. "Did I manipulate this, too?" she asked, pointing to another screen that lit up, showing screenshots of the texts he had sent to Miranda. "Or this?" she continued, as an assistant distributed copies of the photographs he had taken of the documents on Miranda's desk. "There's an explanation for everything," Ethan babbled, looking pleadingly at the guests. "It's a family conspiracy to destroy me because I'm from a humble background, because I don't belong to their elite circle." "It's not about your background," Lily interrupted, her voice firm. "It's about your calculated evil." Judge Peterson stepped forward with a stack of documents. "Mr. Vance, these are the papers that you and Miss Blackwell signed 3 days ago," he announced with professional solemnity. "Do you recognize your signature?" Ethan squinted, confused. "Yes, but allow me to read a few excerpts," the judge continued, adjusting his glasses. "I, Ethan Vance, do hereby confess to orchestrating a plan to fraudulently access the assets of the Blackwell family through deceit and manipulation. I declare my intent to gain control over the financial assets of Miranda Blackwell via a fraudulent marriage to her daughter. I hereby waive any and all rights to present or future assets of the Blackwell family." Ethan's face crumbled into a mask of horror as he grasped the magnitude of the trap. "No, I never signed that. Those were documents from City Hall." "The City Hall documents are right here," the judge replied, holding up another stack. "What you signed was a full, legally binding confession before 2 notarial witnesses." The murmurs in the hall grew into a wave. "This is illegal," Ethan shrieked. "You tricked me into signing." "You were tricked?" Miranda Blackwell's voice cut through the air like a silk whip as she rose from her seat. "You speak of trickery?" She advanced slowly toward the altar, each step measured with precision. The crowd parted like the Red Sea, creating a path for the inevitable confrontation. "The man who entered my home with lies speaks of trickery?" Miranda continued, stopping in front of Ethan. "The one who manipulated my daughter until she broke speaks of injustice?" Ethan tried to maintain his posture, but his knees were visibly shaking. "Miranda, it was always you," he whispered desperately, playing his last card. "Everything I did was to be close to you. I've wanted you from the first moment." The slap echoed like a gunshot in the silent hall. It wasn't a blow of rage, but an act of purification. Miranda's hand left a perfect red mark on Ethan's cheek. "Not in your sickest dreams," she replied with terrifying calm. "Would you be worthy of cleaning my daughter's shoes?" She turned to the crowd, her regal bearing instantly restored. "Ladies and gentlemen, I deeply regret this situation. As you can see, there will be no wedding today." The main doors swung wide open. 3 police officers in formal uniform strode forward with determination. "Ethan Vance," the lead officer announced, "you are under arrest for the crimes of fraud, document forgery, criminal conspiracy, and uttering threats. You have the right to remain silent. As the officers cuffed him, Ethan's facade completely disintegrated, his face contorted into a mask of pure hatred. "This isn't over, Miranda," he screamed as they dragged him toward the exit. "Nobody makes a fool of me! Nobody!" His threats were drowned out by the camera flashes and the indignant murmurs of the guests. The strategically invited press captured every second of his humiliation. In the midst of the chaos, Lily and Miranda stood face to face. Without a word, the daughter let her bridal bouquet fall to the floor. The mother extended her hand. When their fingers intertwined, something was restored between them, something that went beyond triumph over a common enemy. It was the sacred bond that no intruder could ever break again. Epilogue. 1 month later. A month later, the Blackwell mansion gleamed under the spring sun. The newly bloomed garden hosted a small, intimate gathering. It wasn't an ostentatious celebration, but a rebirth. Lily, wearing a simple blue dress, laughed as she helped place crystal glasses on the patio table. Her face had regained its color and life. Her eyes, once dulled by fear and manipulation, shone with renewed confidence. "Careful with those glasses," Miranda warned, coming out of the kitchen with a tray of appetizers. "They were your grandmother's." "I know," Lily smiled. "I also know you have 20 more identical sets stored away in case I break one." Tess appeared carrying a bottle of French champagne and 3 photo albums. "I found Lily's baby pictures," she announced triumphantly. "Look at those cheeks!" The 3 women settled into the garden armchairs, enjoying the breeze and each other's company. On a side table, the day's newspaper showed a discreet headline: "Brazilian national sentenced to 15 years for multiple counts of fraud." A photo of Ethan, now without his carefully crafted appearance, occupied a small space on page 6. "Are you nervous about tomorrow?" Miranda asked, pouring her daughter a glass of champagne. "A little," Lily admitted. "It'll be my first day as director of the educational department." After the scandal, Miranda had suggested her daughter join the philanthropic project of the Blackwell Foundation, a network of free schools for underprivileged children. Lily had accepted, finally finding a purpose that united her passion for teaching with her family's legacy. "You'll do wonderfully," Tess assured her, flipping through the album pages. "You were always the smartest in the family, and the bravest," Miranda added with a pride she didn't try to hide. "Not everyone can face down a manipulator the way you did." Lily looked down at her glass. "Sometimes I still wonder how I could have been so blind." "Because you have a heart that believes in the good in people," Miranda replied, taking her hand. "That should never change, even as you learn to protect it better." The silence that followed was filled with mutual understanding. They needed no more words to heal the wounds of the past. "You know what?" Tess interrupted, standing with her glass held high. "I propose a toast." The 3 women raised their glasses under the golden afternoon light. "To the Blackwells," Tess declared with theatrical solemnity. "Because when a storm hits a tower, it may shake, but it will never fall." Miranda and Lily completed in unison, smiling at the family motto that now held a renewed meaning. The crystal glasses chimed in perfect harmony, sealing not only a victory over an enemy, but the triumph of true love, the love of a family that overcomes betrayal, mistakes, and distance. Miranda watched her daughter chatting animatedly with Tess and felt a peace she hadn't experienced in years. They had walked through fire together and emerged stronger, more united. No man, no fortune, no power was worth more than that unbreakable bond. As the sun set on the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose, the 3 women continued to share memories, dreams, and plans for a future that, now more than ever, belonged exclusively to them. If this story moved you, please leave a red heart. For more stories of justice and revenge, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Share this with anyone who needs a reminder that a mother's love is the strongest force in the world. Would you have forgiven Ethan or exposed him like our heroines did? Let me know in the comments. Don't go. The video on your screen has an even more shocking story. Click now.